Good
All
evening.
right. The June 10th Planning Board meeting, Town of
This
Orangetown is now in
conference will
session.
now be recorded.
The June 10th Orangetown Planning Board is now in session. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call of board members. I can see everybody. I'm going to go down the list. If I don't call your name, please key up. Mike Mandel, Robert Dell, Andy Andrews, Mike McCory, Bill Young. Okay, anybody else? No? Okay, so we're missing Bruce Bond and Steve. Okay, very good. Okay, the first item on the agenda is PB 20-25, 89 Western Highway Playground Site Plan. Who's representing us?
Hey, turn on your microphone, Ramel.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
This is Mark Rampanelli for the Noble Ninth. Our engineer, Ramel Ventimiglia from Northern Civil and Draft, is in the corner here. He needed to turn on his microphone. He will be representing us.
Okay.
I just turned it on. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Great. Yeah, so we are representing the Noble Knight, and we have the documents that we received for the letters from today. Should we start with the letters that we got, or?
Well, I'll go through them all. I want you to present your project to everybody.
Yes, it's a playground that we're doing for handicapped people, and we'll improve the premises that we have at 89 Western Highway.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to go through the consultants' reports. As I'm going through them, if you have any questions, please let me know, okay?
Sure.
Okay, June 4th. I'm not going to read all of them, but what I will do is I will just mention as to the quantity of report of items that are there, just to facilitate time a little bit. Okay, she has 2 items. Rockland County Environmental Planning and Management, Bruce Peters, dated May 28th. He has 4 items. Okay, Booker Engineering, dated June 9th. Drainage review recommendation. The proposed action does not exceed the typical threshold for required mitigation for potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage. Therefore, recommend that the 89 Western Highway Playground site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above project conditions, of which there are 6. Rockland County Department of Planning, May 13, has 6. And that's all I have. Cheryl, is there anything else?
I believe that's it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to let you know that Bruce Bond has joined the meeting.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Bond. Okay, Mr. Mandel, any questions or comments on this project?
No, it looks like a great project. It's replacing a playground that's falling apart. As long as they can comply with all of the conditions, I have no problems. Looks like a great project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dell.
I concur with what Mr. Mandel said. It's a nice project. Also, too, for the record, I think we should say it's like a campus type situation in that all of the disturbance will be mostly visible from inside the site. And it's a neighbor to the east would be the railroad. And I think it's a big improvement, and I wish him luck on the project. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Andrews.
I concur with everybody else. I think it'll bring a lot of good to the neighborhood, and I wish him luck.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McCory.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, like everybody else said, it looks good. They moved it away from the tracks. It's out of the 100-foot buffer, so no issues at all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Young?
I agree with all the other members. I do have one question regarding the property of the railroad tracks behind there and the property south. Is that part of the Masonic Fairgrounds?
Yes.
It is.
It is.
That paved area looks to be a
Yes,
couple acres.
Yeah, it's parcel 11. It was sold by the United States to the Masons in 1954.
So that's not part of the active fairgrounds, or do you use that for parking?
No, it was sold to the United States in 1949, and it was sold back again to the Masons on 1954. So then nobody do anything to it, so they left the property with a old chain link fence around it. So what we're planning to do is just move back to enclose the whole property.
Thank you very much. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bond?
No, it's a good project. I have no issues with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to the public. Anybody wish to speak on this project? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this project? One more time. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this project? Hearing none, I'm going to ask a board member for a vote to close the public session.
Mr. Mandel, motion to close public session.
Okay, can I have a second?
Mr. Andrews.
I'll second.
Mr. Andrews, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed, just turn the mic on and let me know, okay? It seems that everybody approves of it. I think if we're gonna go ahead, I think what little bit is left here warrants them to get their final, and I think we have to reaffirm CEQA on this. So I'm gonna ask for a motion to reaffirm CEQA on this.
Reaffirm.
Mr. Young. Okay, Mr. Young makes the motion, Mr. seconds. All in favor? Any opposition? No opposition, okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. If I can just ask Cheryl, was secret ever done on this? It's listed for pre-preliminary, preliminary, and final.
Yeah, that's incorrect. There was a preliminary, and in January 29th, 2020, I believe was the date.
Okay.
And you did secret.
Yeah, that one was it was asked to add a handicap spacing and chain link fence to the property.
Rick, the reason why I said that is the last agenda that I got from Cheryl, which was this afternoon, listed as a final site plan. So that's why I didn't even go ahead and redo it. I figured you'd just go to reaffirm.
You were correct. My error.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. I'm glad you spoke up. Okay, can I have a motion on it for final with conditions?
I'll make a motion for final with conditions. Bruce Bond.
Bruce Bond makes a final. Okay, conditions are Jane Slavin's letter, June 4th, 2 items. Environmental Management and Engineering, May 28th, 4 items. Booker Engineering, dated June 9th, 6 items. Rockland County Department of Planning, May 13, has 6 items. And that's all. Can I have a second?
Second, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
None opposed. Okay. Thank you very much. You got it. Good luck with the project.
Thank you. A quick question. Most of these comments were already taken care of. And as for the new comments, they're asking us to provide existing pavement for the parking lot. And there's no parking lot in the premises. There's only gravel area. So there's no pavement to attach to it. So as for the June 4 request letter, they're asking us to show that, but we don't have that.
I think you just straighten that out with her, and once that gets straightened out, that'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Okay, the next project is PB 20-26, Japan Plaza Subdivision Plan.
Can you hear me? Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Mr. Brenner. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if I can ask anybody who is not speaking to mute your microphone, it's causing feedback.
Mr. Young, you're one, and okay,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you. Mr. Brenner, whenever you're ready, sir.
1 second.
Yes, sir.
Give me 1 second.
I got a real quick question. Got nothing to do with this. I think our IT is on, our guy is on the line. Is that Matt, whatever his name is? Is he the IT guy? Okay, I got a question. I don't know if you can do it or not. Is there any way where you can move the board members' pictures so they're all in one area, not spread out through the screen?
Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash
You know, what that kind of IT guy are you? I could have not done it either. No, I just wanted,
To enable audio controls, please enter your audio PIN followed by the pound or hash sign. If you do not have a PIN, just press pound or hash. This conference
Brenner.
will now be recorded.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
yes, yes, go ahead, Mr. Brenner.
I'm sorry, I have to use the phone. My computer is not working. I can see you, but I don't hear your voice, so I'm gonna use the phone.
We're getting an echo. So if you want, use the phone to Jane or whomever and shut the mic off on your screen. Yeah.
Okay, Donald, go ahead now. See if it works. Talk to the phone.
Okay now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, do you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Pardon me?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, has the project been opened?
Yes, it is. We're waiting for you now.
Okay, all right. I think everybody knows this project. It's the old Zacharacas Shopping Center, the Japan Shopping Center, down in Japan, New York. It's on the east side of Route 303, right at the border. At a prior time, there was a supermarket there. It closed, became a restaurant. It became a Korean restaurant. That closed. My client has purchased that building, and he wishes to build a new supermarket. I think people here know the engineer is present, the owner is present, and I think the owner might want to say something a little bit about his client. So Matthew, are you here?
Yes,
Matthew?
I'm here. How you doing,
Okay.
Don?
Good. Would you like to tell the board a little bit about your client?
Yeah, so I work for a grocer called Lidl. It's a European grocery store chain. We have approximately 100 stores in the United States open to date, with a whole bunch more that are currently under contract and entitlement, or we're actively expanding through the New York metropolitan area, Rockland County, and more specifically Tapan. Really fit the mark for what we're looking for an area for a store. We are very excited about the project and look forward to working together to bring it to fruition.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Pretty much it's two projects. One is the actual site plan in which they're showing the development of the new building. And the second one is the subdivision where this piece of property is being taken from the existing shopping center, and this property will stand on its own. I think you've got the general background of what we're doing. You've got the drawings, and I think maybe we'll get the letters into the record and see what we're going to do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brenner. Okay, the first one we're looking at is the subdivision plan. This afternoon, I just received a letter from the Office of Building, Zoning, Planning, and Administrator, Jane Slavin, dated June 10th. I'm going to read the letter in its entirety. It's the Tapan Plaza site history. The Department records of certification of occupation for all retail stores, including liquor store, dated back to 1989. Unable to locate the C of Os for the...
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, that's 1969.
I'm sorry, I thought, okay. My
Yeah.
tongue got tied. 1969. Okay, unable to locate the C of Os for the supermarket section of the main retail structure, section to be demolished. It is my understanding that for a long time, this section of the building was a Grand Union supermarket up until sometimes in the 70s, when it was closed down. During the same time, an AMP supermarket was located at what is now Retro Fitness. Another supermarket, Hegnick Incorporated, then occupied the old Grand Union beginning in December of 1989 until about 2008, when application was made to demolish some of the refrigeration equipment and portion of the facade. PB approval was granted in January of 2008 for the seafood restaurant Duke Ocean Grill. PB approval was granted in December 2010 for Retro Fitness. Various retail service and small restaurants have occupied the smaller units and balance of the main retail structure. Wendy's has been in their locations December of 1992. Okay. Again, Office of Zoning, Building, and Planning, Jane Slavin, December 8th. She has 8 items. Environmental Management and Engineering, April 21st, Bruce Peters has 11 items. Okay, I just got this afternoon a letter from Cheryl from Ken DeGennaro pertaining to drainage. And let me go into that because there was 2 different dates. The first date was June 8th and the second one was June 10th. The June 8th report did not approving drainage. Subsequently, on the June 10th report, drainage review recommendation, the proposed application has provided significant detailed information that demonstrates that potential significant adverse impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. We therefore recommend the Tapan Plaza site plan and subdivision be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments at this time, and there are 12. Okay. Rockland County Department of Planning, March 30th. They have 8 items. Rockland County Highway Department, May 4th. They have 2. Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, April 6. They have 2. I have a letter from Rockland County Drainage Agency dated April 24th. And they were just saying, the Rockland County Drainage recommends that the municipal land use boards or other departments ensure the applicant has secured the necessary permits and approvals from all interested and involved agency and notwithstanding violation prior to granting any final approval. And they do not object to the planning board assuming responsible lead agent. And that I have a letter, Rockland County Planning Department, Orangetown lead agent, Rockland County Highway Department, Orangetown Planning Board lead agent. And that's it. Cheryl, do you have anything else?
That's all.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Pardon me?
Yes, sir.
We have the engineer here. Would you like does anybody have any questions for the engineer as related to the subdivision?
Well, let me go through with the consultant, with the board's comments, and we'll see if we need any questions answered on that. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Mandel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Several questions. What's the rationale for dividing the property into 6 lots? Is there a specific reason for that?
Ultimately, the subdivision will be broken up into portions. That's why it's being divided into 6 lots. In other words, the main supermarket will be 1 lot, and then the others will be divided into different portions.
Just to follow up on that, lot 2 is Birchtree Road. Is that road an easement, an entire lot by itself? Who owns that road? Is it an official or a paper road? Could you explain, please, Mr. Parra?
I believe the client owns it. At one time, I was of the opinion that it was a private road owned by the town, because I did put a sewer down that street many years ago. I had to get an easement from the client, so the property is owned by the client.
Okay. And, and just 2 other things. So did you apply for the Rockland County Drainage Agency permit yet?
No, normally, when we get preliminary and we have to go to the zoning board, between that interim period, the application will be made to the Rockland County Drainage Agency.
Okay, and lastly, I took a look at the, I'll go along with Rockland County Planning number 7, the 303 overlay to the extent possible. I think we need a much fuller landscaping plan along 303. There are areas there where the landscaping doesn't exist, too low. So I think we need an improved landscaping plan should be submitted next time. Okay, thank you. I have no further at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Mr. Dell.
Yes, thank you, sir. I agree with what Mr. Mandel said. I think it's going to be a nice improvement for the area. I'm glad they're demolishing the existing building. When it was originally done, it had such a large sea of asphalt in front of it. I think it kept people away. It looks like they're to make this a little more user-friendly. However, there are 2 questions I have just about how this subdivision is going to function. The first has to do in the extreme easterly portion of the property. It looks like that's going to be the ingress and egress, the tractor trailers coming in. Is that true?
The trailers will have to go to the rear of the building, so they would have to go down Birchtree.
Okay, then I assume the shared roadway in the back will be maintained?
I believe so,
So
yes.
that the tractor trailers don't have to back in and out. Is that true?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, the other thing that's kind of cute about the way this is divided, I kind of wonder what's going to happen with the Birch Street area, because one of my main concerns is since you're having tractor trailers, et cetera, coming down here, is I believe there's 1 or 2 residences down there on the opposite side of Birchtree to the north. And I think some consideration should be given to giving them some sort of screening.
Some consideration should be given to what? I didn't get.
Given to that.
Well, it's always been, that is a pre-existing residential, that whole area is fully commercial. And these homes are pre-existing. In fact, one of the homes is actually owned by the subdivision, the client. But if the trucks come in and go to the back of the building, I don't see where it's going to interfere with the use of the pre-existing residential.
Okay, it's not a question of interfering with the use, it's a question of the privacy. Now, I know those, I believe they existed before this subdivision was done, and I'm very familiar with the property, even when back when it opened up as an AMP to the north. But I think something could be done there, and by having property line as you're proposing to have it now, de facto, there'd be no responsibility for your client to then turn around and provide some satisfaction to the people to the north. And I think that's a problem that I have. And as such, I think that should be straightened out now so that they will have some sort of avenue to have any considerations that they have to be answered. It's mostly lighting, noise, that sort of thing that I'm concerned with. And also too, in the extreme easterly portion of the property, again, you have an existing wood fence and I believe the stockade fence, and it looks like coming down in sections. What's going to be there?
I'd like the engineer to answer that one.
Hi, this is Kristen DeLuca from Bowler Engineering. You were saying the stockade fence along that northern property line between the residential and Birchtree Road?
No, I don't believe there is any stockade fence along the northerly side. I'm talking about the easterly side in the rear of the building.
So that existing stockade fence is proposed to remain as of now.
Okay, if you're gonna have it remain, it'd be nice if it was all standing rather than half fallen over.
And just to clarify, as far as the 6 subdivided lots, the Birchtree Road is currently an existing lot, as it's shown on the proposed subdivision plans as well as that one existing residence that is behind the proposed supermarket. And that's where that stockade fence is. And that residence will also be owned by the supermarket property. So we can look into, any necessary repairs along that fence or a buffer that may be needed. There is a significant buffer along Birchtree Road to the residents along the north, just to address your previous question also.
I didn't see that. What are you talking about, a significant buffer? It looks just like with a couple of trees.
There's a line of there's a line of trees. It's not like an evergreen hedgerow, but there are a line of trees along that northern property line in Birchtree Road.
It is my opinion that should become significant because you have residential next to a commercial. I know they've been there forever, et cetera, but the people who are there may not want to do something about it, but eventually they decide to sell it. But right now, assuming your operation is going to be as successful as it looks like it has the potential of being, their quality of life will be affected by what happens on this property. Therefore, some cut down the amount of headlights, particularly from the tractor trailers, etc., and also to provide some sort of screening. I think that would be in order. But since it's a separate lot and I don't really know who owns it, that's why I'm having trouble with the way this land is being subdivided.
The property owner of the remaining lots, which I don't know the exact LLC, Don might be able to help me out on that, but he owns the remaining 4 lots. And we can absolutely look, into the impacts of the visibility along Birchtree Road to those residences. But just to note that as the tractor trailer is traveling on Birchtree Road, his headlights are pointed to the east, not to the north towards these residents. And then as he turns into behind the building, he then backs into the loading dock. And as he's sitting in the loading dock, the building separates the tractor trailer and the residents, as well as a retaining wall along the eastern side of the loading dock. So there is some screening of the tractor trailer as it's sitting in the dock. But we can absolutely.
Street?
What's that?
Right, or what is it going to happen?
I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Is it going to be one way, that road?
No, that is a 2-way road still to remain.
Because you may have trucks in the other buildings behind it, and they'd also be coming directly out.
Which is what the existing condition is as well.
I know, that's why I'm saying you should have some sort of screening to give these people some sort of privacy. Now, you're saying the people who own the property, are they affiliated at all with this subdivision or not?
The only residential lot that's affiliated is the one to the east of the supermarket building and to the south of Birchtree Lane.
So my concern is what happens to the north, because the way it's proposed right now, these people could be in a very difficult situation because how they're going to get any remediation. That's why I don't understand why the street wasn't added onto this lot. Was there some reason to keep it a separate lot?
Because it's an easement to all of these other lots, it was kept as a separate lot for the main shopping center owner to still maintain and keep as that easement and access to these residential lots, as well as the shopping center and the retro fitness.
Okay, well then the question is, assuming that you might need some sort of mitigation there, who's going to pay for it? Will it be covered by this particular subdivision, by the overall owner of the entire property, etc.? It's very unclear to me.
Mr. Dell?
Yes, sir.
The first application is the subdivision. The second application is the actual site development plan that has a lot of this stuff on it.
No, I understand, but.
Okay, I just want to make sure you were clear on that.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for the clarification. But from what I'm seeing here, the area I'm talking about putting screening in is not going to be part of this lot once it's subdivided. It's owned collectively or owned by the overall person who owns the property. And it's not clear to me how any sort of protection will be given to those properties. And
we can look into that between the current property owner and, Lidl as purchasing these 2 separate lots as far as potential screening along Birchtree Road for the residences there. It is, they have access along Birchtree Road, so there still is going to be open driveways that we would not obviously be able to put landscaping or screening in front of. But in the areas that don't have openings or access, we can look at enhancing what is there today.
Okay, I would have hoped there would have been some dialogue before this meeting between the people, your company, and those also to a part of this project.
They have been working together. We're working with the current property owner for the overall plan, because that was an existing condition and the trucks currently travel in that way. We didn't look at improving that area, but we can take it into consideration.
Okay, well, I would like to see it be more than consideration before I feel comfortable moving this on, because it's kind of an unusual situation.
Mr. Dell,
Yes,
Dell,
sir.
if I can interrupt just for a moment. I understand
Please
where
do.
you're going. I understand where you're going, and I agree with you, but it's for this, what you're talking about right now is basically for the site plan, not the subdivision plan. So I think once we get rid of the subdivision plan and we do whatever we're gonna do with that, and then get into the site plan, then you can bring all this out, and then we can get it straightened out. And I think at that time, is when most of your comments will be germane.
Okay, well, Mr. Chairman, the thing is that assuming we approve this as a subdivision, we'll have no rights to make any changes to the area affected because it's outside of the subdivision, because of that strip of property that they have. So that's my,
Well, if all that they can do is just to take care of their property, they really can't do anything to anybody else's property.
right, well,
And
that's what I'm saying before.
Sorry to
if
interrupt.
they-
I just wanted to point out that this is an actually existing lot today. Birchtree Road is existing the way it is today. So we're not actually subdividing it. It's included in the overall subdivision because this overall property has four existing lots, and we're now creating 6 of them. So that's why it's included, but we are not changing the boundaries of Birchtree.
Now, I understand you're not, actually you are, or you're having, by putting this lot there that you're doing and having it being a separate entity, you're removing them from any sort of responsibility to what happens in Birchtree. And my question is, who's going to be responsible for that? And my feeling is the property closest to it should be. And since we don't know what happened with Birch Street, ultimately in terms of maintenance, etc., I would like to see that clarified. But that's all, Mr. Chairman. I didn't mean to belabor this, but I think it's an important issue because of the uniqueness of the way this is being proposed to be subdivided. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Dell, that street will have cross easements between the property owners. That street will be maintained by the client. It'll be perfectly maintained by the client. That situation has been existing since the 60s. Trucks were going back there. In fact, the one time there was a farm back there where they actually had discs, and it was developed at one time. The client will have cross easements that he will maintain the road. And when we get to the site plan, we'll see what we're going to be able to do in terms, if there are any property owners here, as to see what we're able to do as to how we could assist them.
Okay. Mr. Brenner, I think you have your microphone on again, because I see your picture in one place, and then another place it says DB with the microphone on. Could you check it? See, is
Mr.
that?
Chairman, DB is his cell
John?
phone.
I'm talking through my second.
Because we're getting feedback on it. Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Andrews, questions or comments on this project?
The questions and comments I'll have will be during the site plan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McCory. Mr. McCory.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, Chair. Yep, I got you. It took me a while to click on the mic. I got a lot of plans for this. They're all over the room here, so I'm trying to piece it all together, if you can bear with
Okay.
me.
Okay, let me interject
June
just for a
8th.
second. Mike, let me just interject. This is for the subdivision, not the site.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm trying to wrap my head around the subdivision first.
Okay.
And like Mr. Dell mentioned, lot number 2, I just can't figure out why it's proposed how it is. Currently, is it before the subdivision? Where is lot number 2? Is it exactly how it is after the subdivision? It's not attached to lot number 4. I saw one map where it looks like it's attached to lot number 4. Is it its own lot right now?
It is its own lot right now. It is adjacent to the overall shopping center, and we're now subdividing the supermarket in between Birchtree Road and the remainder of the supermarket.
So that's going to be its own separate lot. And what's the square footage of that lot? I'm trying to find it here. I got so many maps here.
Give me a second and I'll tell you.
I guess the question is, would you need a variance for square footage and for street frontage?
We're not doing anything with it. It's an existing lot.
So you wouldn't need the variances for the size of the lot? Because it's existing?
It's an existing lot. The only thing we need is we're gonna need cross easements.
All right. And why didn't that get incorporated into lot number 3?
Because it's going to be maintained ownership with the overall shopping center to maintain the easements to the residential properties, the retro fitness, the proposed Lidl supermarket, and the existing shopping center. So that's why it remained with the current property owner of the Birchtree Lane and shopping center.
All right, and then any future sell-offs of these lot, they can sell lot number 2 as its own lot? 20 potential buyer?
I would assume they can. I'm not speaking on the legal side of it, but obviously all the easements would remain in place and would have to be, maintained if they did sell it.
I don't know. That lot number 2 really it just doesn't make sense why it seems like it cuts off the residential areas and any future development. I don't know. I got a problem with lot number 2.
And we maintain it.
If I can explain, it's been like that. That easement has been there since probably, I think, 1959, that this has been set up this way. There is an easement that exists, and that rides with the land. So even if they went and sold the lot number 2, which is an ingress and egress easement, they would not be able to develop it because they would have to conform to whatever the planning board decision is and the ingress and the egress easements that are tied to those properties. They can't just go and start developing and then limit the access to the other properties. They'd still have to come back to the planning board if they were proposing to do something. And if that was going to cut off access that was previously approved by this board, they wouldn't be able to do it.
All right.
And again, this has been there. The deed shows it back, I think it was 59. I'm doing it from memory, but it has been there for a very long time.
All right, yeah, thank you. It seemed like this would be an opportunity to fix that since they're going through a subdivision here. I guess the last issue, like I said, I got a lot of plans here. On June 8th, the subdivision was not approved for drainage. 2 days later, it was approved. Are there new plans out there that we don't have?
There are not any new plans. We spoke with the engineer from Brooker. He had through a few critical items that he was concerned with, and we clarified them with him and provided him with a narrative letter. And he then understood that we were not increasing the impervious area on the site, and that we are proposing a pretreatment unit, and that we provided that to him, and he was comfortable with those items.
All right, so nothing was actually changed. What's that, Don?
In fact, some pavement is being removed and it's going to become pervious, which was normally impervious. It's an improvement on drainage, and it was explained to Brooker at that, and that's the reason he gave him the approval.
All right, so that wasn't based on any changes in the plan. It was based on a phone call?
Yes, and just clarification of what is actually on the plans. It wasn't any change to the plans.
All right. That's all I got for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Young.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I share the same concerns about lot 2. I'm a little confused as to, I didn't know a road like that could exist in this town. But I do understand the need. Looks like it'll be a 50-foot easement that the entire lot 2 will take up. But I share the same concerns as the other members. That's all I had, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bond.
I'm okay with it. I guess really part of the problem is these guys have never met Mr. Zacharakis. They never had the pleasure to meet him. So you can understand that. I'll leave it at that. Okay.
That's all you have to do is right. Okay, thank you very much. Open it up to the public. Is there any public questions or comments on this project? Going to say it again. Is there any public questions or comments on this project? One last time. Any questions or comments from the public on this project? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to close public session.
Motion to close public session, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel, and second by Mr. Andrews. All in favor by aye? Anybody opposed? None, okay. I think we can go ahead with preliminary on this. I don't think we have any problem. Does anybody have any problem with it?
Lead agency.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm just in direction. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I
Yes,
agree
Mr.
with you. I think we can go ahead with this, but I would like to have it be part of the approval of this subdivision, since it's being from a larger piece of property, that screening be provided to the residential properties to the north. That's all we have to say. They could figure it out, but at least it's on the record.
well, when they come back to us, they're gonna have to come back with a landscape plan. I think
I
at that,
won't come back with that, because that'll be a separate lot after the subdivision.
It is that lot right now.
we're going into the site plan next, and at that
I
time,
understand, but that will not be part of the site plan because it's not part of that proposed lot. It's on the other side of the street. So I'm saying while we are here now, all we could say is that adequate screening or screening will be provided to the properties to the north, and I think that would take care of it. And if we don't have to specify it, but at least there'll be something there.
okay, we can do that. If the board agrees with that, I have no problem with that. Okay?
Okay,
All right.
thank you, sir. That was it. And sorry I belabored it for a while, but I felt it was an important issue. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
no, I agree. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'd like to have a motion for lead agent.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Young, lead agent.
Public comment?
Excuse me?
Public
We did-
comment.
We did them already. Nobody had any public comments. Mike, you missed out. 3 times I asked. You were sleeping.
Oh, okay, okay. Second on the
Okay.
lead agency.
Okay, Mr. Young says, made a motion on lead agent. Do I have a second? Mr. Mandel?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
All right.
Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, motion for neg deck.
Motion for neg deck, Mr. Mandel.
Mr. Mandel, okay, do I have a second?
Bruce
Second.
Bond, second.
Mr. Bond, okay, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Hearing none, okay. Preliminary with conditions. One of the conditions are that, we would like the applicant to come back with some type of screening on the, I guess it would be the south side of, what's that road?
North side.
It would be the
North
north
side.
side of Birchtree Road.
Birchtree Road, for the residential properties.
No, I understand that, but we want the screening to be on the north side of the road because that's not their property. The south side of the road is their property, correct?
There's a portion of landscaping within Birchtree Road that's on the Birchtree Road lot existing today and maintained. And as part of the site plan application, we are proposing improvements to Birchtree Lane. So I believe that we would, be able to address it then. I'm fine with it being in either application. I was just mentioning that that lot actually is being reviewed also because we're proposing improvements as far as repaving the road and having the access to some of the utilities there.
Okay, and if you can seek an extra, some screening there to make the board happy. Okay? Okay, Mr. Dell?
Yeah, just so long as it said that there will be, screening will be provided on the northerly side of Birch Street. That's all you have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna put this in anyway. Office of Building, Zoning and Management, June 10th. It's the Tapan Plaza history, site history. Just put it in for the record. Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, June 8th. There are 8 items. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, April 21st, Bruce Peters. There are 11. Letter from Ken DeGennaro to Cheryl Coopersmith pertaining to drainage. And it's accompanied by the new June 10th drainage report, which specifies that drainage is approved with 12 items. Rockland County Planning dated March 30th. They have 8 items. Rockland County Highway, May 4th, 2 items. Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, April 6th, 2 items. And then there's just a narrative from Rockland County Drainage Agency, April 24th. And that's it. Okay. That Cheryl, I don't think there is there?
That's it. Who first that?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, can I have a second on that? Mr. Young seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? None. So you have your preliminary.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Cheryl did not hear who made the motion. Who was the
Oh,
first?
I'm sorry. I believe it was Mr. Young.
No, that was second. Who first it?
Who? Okay, Mr. Mandel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next is PB 20-27, Tapan Plaza Site Plan.
Okay, hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, now the client now is going to take this property and he's going to build a new he's going to build a new supermarket. You have the site plan, you see what he's doing with it. And I think now we can get into the nitty gritties. The only interesting part of this is that there will be cross easements in terms of accessibility and use of his property. I think we can then read the comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just get a little.
Mr. Chairman? Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
ma'am.
my history letter should be made part of this record as well.
Yes, I am. I was just putting them in order. Okay, let me go through the consultants' reports. Again, I'm going to refer to, I'm not going to read it in because it was read into the other side, is Office Building Zoning and Planning and Administrative, Jane Slavin, June 10th. It's the subject is the Pan Plaza site history. Office of Building Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, June 8th. And she has 13 items. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, April 21st. Bruce Peters. He has 23 items. Booker Engineering, again, we have an updated correspondence from June 8th to June 10th. And the drainage review recommendation, the proposed application has provided significant drainage information to demonstrate that potential significant adverse impact with respect to drainage can be mitigated. We therefore recommend that the Tapan Plaza site plan and subdivision be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments at this time, of which there are 12. Okay, Rockland County Planning, March 30th. They have 14. Rockland County Planning, no, Highway, I'm sorry, May 4th. They have 2. Rockland County Sewer Number 1, April 6th. They have 2. Again, their narrative from Rockland County Drainage Agency, April 24th. Rockland County Drainage Agency does not object to planning boards assuming responsible for lead agent for CEQA. Okay. And I also have Town of Orangetown Planning Board to serve as lead agent from the Rockland County Planning Department, Rockland County Highway Department, and Cheryl, do you have anything else?
That's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Mandel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'll go back to the, looking at the landscape plan. There's, starting from the, I guess, the south side of Retro Fitness to the property line on the south, which would be the north side of the Wendy's restaurant. There are areas that are blank. There are areas with holes in the current screening. It doesn't comply with the 303 overlay. I think we need a much more detailed plan showing what they're going to be planting as far as landscaping, the number, type of trees or shrubs, the type of the distance, the width of the barrier, because you're going to have headlights going out onto 303. I think we have to definitely comply. I know Rockland County Planning says as appropriate, but in this case, I think it would make a big difference down there that we have proper plantings. So I'd like to see that in the thing. Talked about the water quality as far as the water going into the Spark Hill Creek. You mentioned before that there was going to be pre-treatment. Could you just explain a little bit on that to me, please?
Sure. Again, and just new application for the record, Kristen DeLuca from Bowler Engineering. The water treatment that we are proposing is in accordance with New York State DEC redevelopment regulations, because we are increasing the pervious area and reducing runoff from the site. We are not required to meet the stream and water quantity requirements, but we are required to meet the water quality requirements based on our disturbance area. So we were proposing a proprietary approved device, which is a Contech stormwater treatment unit, and that will be located, it's proposed on the Lidl property to treat 25% of the disturbed area, and it will filter out sediments and then discharge downstream to the existing positive system on site.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's all I have at this time. I just, reserve the right to ask further on after public comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Mr. Dell. There you go.
Okay, I'm unclear on this. I assume that we are now talking about the site development of the entire site, including the property we just looked on. Is that true?
Yes, yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I had a number of comments. I agree with what Mr. Mandel said. As has been pointed out in the record, I believe this so-called landscaping island area was first developed in the 1960s, 1950s. And we attempted as part of the architecture board, I think in the 80s, late 70s, to try to do something to improve this. Since we have, it obviously predates the 303 overlay district, we wouldn't be as hard on it as we normally could. But I think that something should be done in this area. And one of the things that would obviously stop headlights would be to put a small berm, nothing substantial, but just something enough to block the major headlights, and then to some sort of plantings. Because right now, it looks like something you would expect, if you pardon the analogy, to find out in the middle of area in the southwest, that any chance of anything growing. I think something could be done there. I think there's a good chance for doing some positive things. The light fixtures are proposed at 25 feet high. I think that may be a bit excessive. That's something to be looked at. But in terms of what's happening, there looks like a dagger-shaped area to the west of the proposed area that said it's going to be seeded. I think that's really wishful thinking to think something like that would last there. Because what's going to happen, obviously, is people are going to be walking across it all the time. It'll probably be covered with snow in the winter. So I think a better solution could possibly be done there. How is I need to know from the applicant, where are they regarding their required number of parking spaces? And the reason I'm asking that, is there a chance that a break be put in somewhere in the middle of that long dagger shape to allow people to go back and forth without having to cross the lawn? So I'm asking again, how are you in terms of required parking? Are you at the limit? Do you have an extra space or two that you could knock out to put some sort of walkway across that dagger-shaped island?
For the overall property, as we look at it all as one development with cross access and parking access agreements, we have one additional stall. We had provided a walkway at the very southern portion of that island. There was some concern with the grading across that island that we weren't able to provide the cut through. It wasn't a matter of losing the parking stall. It was that we're using that island to make up the difference in grade as Birchtree Lane Road slopes into the
So
site.
how much grade are you taking into account there? About 3 feet, 2 feet, 1 foot? Because I didn't see that detail on the plan. Maybe I missed it.
On our grading plan, I didn't have a cross section shown, but on the grading plan, it shows there's about a foot within that from one side of the landscape island to the other.
Well, that's not really that substantial that it should be a grading issue. But just to say you're going to plant it and seed it and hope that's going to live with the car overhangs, I don't think it's a very realistic solution. That's something you should address. The next thing I definitely address is the handicap parking. Because right now you have 2 in front of the store, and assuming this is going to be a successful business, I think you'd want to have not just 2, but at least 3 or 4, and you could have them possibly on the southerly park side of the proposed new building by the entranceway. You could mirror what you have, and then you have 3 or 4, but something that would be a little bit more effective than just 2. Because being disabled myself, it's really frustrating not to have a spot, and then quite often someone parking there temporarily or whatever, it just could be an issue. And assuming this is the type of business that it looks like that you are with the European sensitivities, I don't understand why it would be a problem.
Again, we provided the number of spaces per code, and we wanted to spread them out through the entire shopping center as this overall property. So there are 2 in front of the Lidl directly in front. There are 2 along the north side of the existing strip center that could service both the tenants on the north side as well as the Lidl. We provided a crosswalk across that driveway and a ramp up at that location. And then we provided 4 to the south area of the existing shopping center as well. So we were spreading them out for the convenience of the entire development.
Okay, because the way you have it now with those 2 on the northerly side of your southern part of the property, someone may be taking their lives in their hands if they're disabled trying to go across there. Where I think it would make far more sense to put at least 1 more next to the building on that southern side of the proposed building. Would that be a problem to put 1 handicap spot there, let's say on that corner? That would be on the southwest corner of the new proposed building.
I have to look at the grading there again, just to make sure that we can get the 2% slope. There were some steeper slopes, and to provide 2% across that whole area, it might have been difficult, but we can look into that. Absolutely.
I would not feel comfortable moving this forward unless something like that was a little bit more done. Mr. Mendel's comment about the landscaping, I think is very pertinent, because this is not what I would call a landscape plan at all. It looks like something an engineer had to do, and there's no connection in terms of what could be done with a site like this and with the type of business that you have. I think something like that would be far more appropriate. So I would like to see a real landscape plan, and I would like to see some of the cuts you were talking about, et cetera. Now, what about the building itself? I don't see any architecturals. What's going to happen?
There were elevations submitted. I don't know if I'm permitted to share my screen.
Yeah, well, I didn't see the packet. Maybe I missed them, but I didn't find them. Because usually if we're going to
I'll make you a presenter.
I'm sorry?
I will make Kristen a presenter and she can put them up on the screen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Kristen, you're up.
Thank you. Get that out of the way. These are the proposed elevations. Can everyone see that?
Not really. I mean, for something like this to for review, I would like to have more than, a minute when you're bringing it in front of me. It looks like it could be okay, but, it's better, obviously, if you could look at it in not such a rushed format.
Sure, and I can just quickly run through it. This is the western elevation of the building, which will face Route 303. This is the corner. There's a chamfered corner here where the main entrance is, and a canopy that wraps around that end of the store. And then this next elevation is the southern elevation, which will face the existing shopping center. And again, you're seeing the chamfered corner for that main entrance at this corner, which will face Route 303. A canopy that wraps around with a space for carts stored. It's a combination of brick veneer and stonewood panels. Just going further east, we then arrive at the loading dock, which is at the back of the building, and there is along this eastern portion a retaining wall that does help to screen that loading dock that's recessed in order to have the tractor trailers back in to access the dock.
Sound into the damn looking on the phone. What the hell
And then this is the rear of the building that faces Birchtree Road, and then the east of the building that is the existing residential. Again, this is where the truck would load. And just that one existing residential that is part of the property, not the ones to the north of Birchtree.
I understand. It just looks to me like the northerly part of the building is almost like designated the other side of the tracks, whereas the southerly portion looks like it's fairly attractive. Is there a reason for that?
This is the back of the building, so the front facade that faces the parking area and the shopping center.
Side, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No problem. So this is the first one is what faces Route 303, and then the second one faces the existing shopping center and the parking area, and the third one.
Right, what faces north?
The third elevation, where what's labeled back elevation. It's the back of the building.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I just, I thought probably a little bit better treatment could be. I know this is Akabor's thing, but I just don't understand the logic. Now, the way you said you're having the entrance on the chamfered corner, again, this is not provided on the plans that I have here, and highlights the importance of putting in a third handicap space. And looking at the way it's configured, it might make more sense to put that handicap space on the westerly side next to the other two. That might make more sense than what you're having it, because right now anybody who is disabled, one of the problems with that is you have trouble covering distances. You're making them come all the way across the sidewalk, dealing with traffic, then coming all the way around that portion of the building. And that's enough that again to get in terms of distance from, let's say, the door to the back of the store. So I think that could be something that could be. Now, final thing I'd like to mention is on the water treatment. Now, right now, the water treatment is going into a dedicated detention basin. Is that true?
No, it discharges the site along the southern property line.
Okay, so in other words, it just flows right out into the Spark Hill Creek.
Mhm.
Okay, so I don't quite understand the treatment system you're proposing. I assume there'll be some sort of oil separator in there. You're having quite a bit of impervious area, particularly with the amount of roof area that you're talking about and whatever's been existing up there for years. I'm concerned about that water quality. Can you give me any more details on what you're proposing?
I can.
Pardon me, you mentioned 25% of it would be covered rather than.
Yes, in accordance with the New York State DEC regulations, because this is a redevelopment, we're meeting the requirements of the redevelopment. Currently existing today, there is no pre-treatment and it's just a free discharge into the creek. So for the area that we're disturbing, we're treating 25% of that. And as you can see, a majority of our disturbed area is roof area due to the size of the supermarket, which is considered clean water, not the parking lot contaminated, possible oil water that gets in there. So we are treating in line with the DEC requirements and providing a hydrodynamic separator, which allows the sediment to settle within that device before it discharges into the existing.
In other words, you go up on catch basin, is what you're saying.
It's not a catch basin. It has a hydrodynamic that allows the water to settle, and it has a vortex unit that it spins as it enters,
Okay.
so that it settles the sediment out.
Do you have a detail of that? I didn't see anything about that.
I believe it was on our.
Construction detail.
Yeah.
Sit on set.
Restrip. This is it. Try to zoom in here as much as possible.
Okay, what is the diameter?
I believe this one was a 6 foot. I can confirm that, but I believe the diameter of it is a 6 foot. 96. It's 8 foot diameter. Interior diameter.
So it's about 8 foot inside to carry all that water. Okay. Now we know he has its recommendations, and I think that those recommendations are meant. Obviously, if it gets any worse than that, it's going to be unbelievably bad. I think there's an opportunity here to fix an existing situation without having too much of a burden. Because with all that water coming through 8'6", I don't really know how much of that's going to be handled. Now, we know we have an increase in deposition when you have a decrease in velocity. But if it's going to be coming through and it's rounded, it'll probably be going out at almost the same speed it's coming in if you have a substantial amount of water. I feel that there should be some sort of oil separation system in here, or at least some attempts to do something. That's one person's opinion. The other members might say, well, it's existed forever, so let it go. But my view is, you're doing great improvements here with a great new business. Why not fix a lot of other problems that have existed? Because this is, as we've said, back in the 60s and 50s. And I think we're a little further along. Okay, that's all my comments for now, Mr. Chairman. Sorry I took so long. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And
Thank
just to recap, it is an approved unit by New York State DEC for the redevelopment guidelines.
Okay. Can we get rid of the screen and get back to? There we are. Okay, Mr. Andrews.
Yeah, just a few questions. The loading docks, they're gonna be at the rear, the south end of the building, the rear of the building, which is on the north side, correct?
It's the east side, opposite Route 303.
Towards the front of the store, is that what you had on that?
Towards the back of the store.
And that's
It's
gonna
at
be
the-
the only loading dock?
Yes.
How many trucks do they plan on receiving per day?
Matt, are you able to speak to that?
Hi, everyone. Yes, it's one truck a day typically. It all depends on how successful the store is, but it's one truck a day.
And that's gonna be what, during the day, in the evening, at night?
Typically early morning, and before the store opens. So it should be, it should be well out of there, I would say prior to 10 a.m.
Okay. The parking lot, if you take a look at is that parking lot gonna be redone, the whole parking lot? I saw you mention you need 300 plus parking spaces. Does that encompass the whole lot for those 300 spaces?
The proposed parking spaces and the required parking spaces is looked at as the all 6 properties.
Okay, so 300 plus parking places.
Yes, there are
I believe I read that somewhere.
367 stalls required and 368 stalls provided.
Okay. Now that the parking lot that exists right now is in pretty much disarray. You're gonna rip that all up and put a new one in, or just cap it, or you're gonna fix it, in other words?
The existing property owner of the shopping center does have plans for some improvements to that lot as well. So we're showing the improvements that are needed for the supermarket, and although some of it is shown on the shopping center property, he may be doing some additional to just finish off the rest of that property.
Okay. I don't have anything further right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McCory.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Just a couple questions with the supermarket, and I'm sure Jane can help me out. You have the supermarket right up against the property line that we just created, lot number 2. Are any issues with variances since there's no setback to that property line?
No, the CS zone is 0, can be 0.
All right, can be 0. Just thank you for clearing that up. All right, so you have that right up against the property line now. And the current situation is that the store is away from the property line. So you're actually moving it closer to the residential, and they're gonna see that whole bare back of the store you showed us. So I have concerns with that you're not improving your lot in the eyes of those residents north of the lot. The store's getting closer, and there's gonna be no screening in the back of the store because you're right up against a lot, but we're hoping you get the screening on the north side of that road, I guess. But I don't understand why you have to go closer to the residents with this development. I guess the second question is, I just had same thing with the fellow board members. Rockland Planning, comment number 9. I'd just like to read it into the record. The proposed plan shall comply with the Route 303 overlay zone to the extent applicable. As proposed, no vegetated buffer areas are provided and the site is not adequately screened from Route 303. So I agree with the fellow members that we have a chance here, since you're developing it, to get this right and to provide some buffer to Route 303 while you're doing this. I think we can make a better plan than this. This seems like it's very scaled back and has no concern about the screening issues and how it affects 303 and the intent of the 303 overlay and the comment from Rockland Planning. So I'd like to see a plan that puts a little more effort into that screening towards Route 303. And like I said, I don't like that. It's the impact on the residents is actually getting worse with this plan by moving the supermarket closer to them. So those are my concerns, and we're always looking out for the neighbors. So that's why I have those comments. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Young.
No further comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bond.
Yeah, I don't have any further comments either.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to open it up for the public. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this? Okay, number two, I'm going to open up to the public. Anybody wish to speak on this? Third and final time, I'm opening it up to the public. Anybody wish to speak on this? Okay, hearing none, I'm asking for a motion to close the public.
I'll make a motion to close the public. Mr. Bond.
Mr. Bond, Mr. Mandel, second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Opposed. Okay, thank you. Do we feel we have enough on this to move on with it, or I know that there are quite a few issues of landscaping. So what does the board feel they want to do on this? Mr. Mandel.
I'd like to see the landscaping plan, answer some of the questions we've had.
Getting a lot of feedback. I don't know where it's coming from. Mr. Thank you. Mr. Dell, shut yours for a second.
Yes.
Oh, okay. No. Do me a favor. Shut your microphone off for a second.
Okay.
We're getting feedback from somebody. I didn't hear what Mr. Mandel said. Mr. Mandel, could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more as far as the 303 overlay, which is Rockland County 9 and 13. I think, as everybody else said, this is our chance to correct the problems down there. It would make a great difference in the way the area looks. It would improve the whole commercial strip there. There are stores empty on the other side too. I think maybe this will bring businesses back down there. I think it's an ideal time to do it. I think we really should wait and see and get the rest of the information we need.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brenner, did you have something to say? I see you're on your phone. We're not getting through.
Okay, hold on. Let me unmute him.
Yeah.
Hold on, Don. I'll do it. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead,
Hey,
Mr.
Donald, you're good to go.
Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We have a shopping center here that's going to be a great improvement to what was here before. We have somebody who's coming in, is going to spend a substantial amount of money with this improvement. He has left the strip 25 feet in accordance with the overlay zone. He has to adhere to the overlay zone because if you remember correctly, we are not asking a waiver of it. We could have asked the board a waiver. We are not asking a waiver of it. Time is an extremely important factor. We have heard Mr. Dell's thoughts. We will adhere to his thoughts in terms of providing the strip that he's looking about. If something can be done with a handicap spot, he will do it. The grades may not permit it. The owner himself told me that as part of this program, he is ripping up all the sidewalks in front of 303 and rebuilding them again. This is going to be a good thing for Japan. Every time we delay projects like this, we run into problems. And I really would like the board to go forward with it, understanding that we're going to adhere to the overlay zone, which the county says we have to do. We did not ask for an override. And we I know everybody's in trouble with Birch Street, but Birch Street is an old lot, which was created by Mr. Zacharakis many years ago. Nothing can be built on it because it's really a right-of-way to properties in the back, as well as 2 residential lots that have been rented there for many years. These people are improving the area. I am asking that we move the project, go to the zoning board and get our variances, provide the landscape plan. We have to come back to you anyway, and we will adhere to the overlay zone, definitely in the 25-foot strip.
Okay, Mr. Mandel, does that kind of satisfy your concerns?
Yes, that does satisfy my concerns at this time.
Okay, because they do have to come back. They do have to go to ACA board. They do have to come back. So I think we're going to see this again. And I agree with both you and Mr. Dell that we want to do something in front. And Mr. Brenner says that they're going to abide by the 20-foot zone and that they are going to do something in there. We don't see what it is, but I think between ACA board and them coming back to us, I think that they're very amiable to do whatever they can to get this thing going. And that's my opinion. I'm just, like I said, I'm just one of many. If you feel you're comfortable with it, is any of the other board members uncomfortable with proceeding with this? Mr. Dell, let me hear from you, please.
Thank you, sir. As we say, the devil is in the details. I don't have enough details here. There are a lot of unanswered questions that could possibly move this along. There are a number of details when I think they get into the actual looking at the grades and finding out what's going on that will result in substantial improvements. Mr. Brenner very aptly said it's going to be in great improvement and the client is spending a great deal of money. Well, I think this is the time to make sure we get it right. And I would not be comfortable with anything other than hearing this as a continuation. Then it can come back next time, and assuming all these things are addressed, I'll be the first one to try to push it through. But right now, I think there are too many answered questions, and whenever we've had anything that's gone through, even with the best intentioned people, that we said, oh, we could fix it later on, it never seems to happen. And once we get preliminary, we're kind of stuck into that. I think we should keep it at a preliminary, ask them to do a continuation, and then I think we get the whole thing done quickly. I think the heart's in the right place. I just want to see the plans be in the right place. Thank you, sir.
All right, well, let me go through and poll the rest of the board because right now it's 1 in favor, 1 against. Let me just see what else is going on. Mr. Andrews, how do you feel on this? Do you feel that they should be allowed to continue with it? Not allowed to
Yes. Let them continue. Let them continue. When they come back after seeing ACA board and they come back to us, I think they'll make the necessary improvements that we asked for. And I think right now it's a great improvement over what you see here now. So I'm in total agreement with it right now.
Okay, moving forward with it.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. McCory.
Thank you, Chairman. Just want to clarify. Mr. Brenner said he can comply with Rockland Planning comment number 9, where it says a vegetative buffer of at least 25 feet must be provided along the property line adjacent to Route 303. Is that what he's saying?
What I'm saying, the drawing shows very specifically they've allotted 25 feet to do this. The engineers here, do you want to make any kind of statement?
But there's no vegetative buffer planned?
Well, you're telling us we have to do it. We're going to do it.
I think that's what the comments are.
We've provided landscaping along Route 303, as well as there's existing landscaping there. And there is, I know there was a berm mentioned before. There's a grade, just a natural grade change that the site does sit lower than the road as it is right now. So it is screening to a certain extent currently. But like Mr. Brenner said, we can look at what needs to be improved along there and work between the two lots in order to improve that.
Yeah, I would like to see that improvement, and I'd like to see a new plan that shows that improvement, because I don't see how you can comply with the 303 just by telling it's gonna happen. But yeah, I'm not comfortable moving this forward. I think we can do better, and here's our chance. So that's all.
Okay.
Kristen, can you confirm, isn't the, you show the 25 foot on the site plan, correct?
Yes, in front of the areas that we're improving, the existing Wendy's and the retro fitness lots, we cannot accommodate that because of the existing buildings there. But in the area of the shopping center and the Lidl, we're showing that.
Okay, thank you.
And okay. It can be done. In other words, the area is there, they will study it, it can be done. We cannot meet the parking situation because of the way the layout is, but we can do the landscaping.
Okay, Mr. Young, do you feel that we should move forward with this?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bond?
Yeah, I have no issue moving forward. They can address the 303 overlay zone when they come back. They need to get the variances so we can move this thing along. So it's a big improvement over what's there. So.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna lead off the names once again, so I make sure that everybody knows what's going on and everybody knows what's going on. Mr. Mandel approves that we proceed with it. Mr. Dell does not want to proceed with it and wants a continuation. Mr. Andrews wants to proceed with it. Mr. McCory, excuse me, wants to let it continue it. Mr. Young wants to proceed with it. Mr. Bond wants to proceed with it, and I want to proceed. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 2. Okay, am I correct? Did I make a mistake anywhere? If I did, please speak up. Okay.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
McCrory, are you saying proceed? Are you saying pre-preliminary?
No, preliminary.
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 Just want to clear that up. I didn't know what proceed was. All right.
No,
Preliminary.
what we would either do now is continue it or go to preliminary.
All right.
And condense, so far, the majority wants to go to preliminary. Okay? Mr. McCory, okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready to vote.
Okay, well, I think we just did. All right? Okay,
Can we do a roll call vote?
it's 5 to 2 to proceed to preliminary.
I nominate
Mr. Chairman,
preliminary.
there needs to be a motion.
No, I understand it. We haven't gotten to that yet. I'm counting a head count right now. That's what I'm saying, is if I'm wrong, I want somebody to speak. Right now, if we go with preliminary, there's 5 for it and there are 2 against it. Is that the consensus? Okay, so I need a motion for preliminary with conditions. Do I have that motion?
Young.
First,
Okay.
for neg deck.
Mr.
Gotta
Brennan,
do neg deck. Yeah.
okay, sorry, thank you
I'll make
very
a
much.
motion for neg deck. Neg deck.
Lead agency first.
Okay, Mr.
I'll
Mandel
make a
does.
motion for lead agency.
We're getting crazy over here. Mr. Mandel does lead agent. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bond, okay. Motion for neg deck.
I'll make a motion for neg deck.
Mr. Bond, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Mandel, okay. Do I have a motion for preliminary with conditions? Mr. Motion, okay.
Yeah.
You have a second, but you have to continue with
You
the
have to
vote.
vote. We all have to vote on each one of those.
Excuse me?
I think you had a first and a second, and then you move to the next item. You actually have to vote after the second.
Okay, I'm very, very sorry. You're right. I think we got you here. Okay, and agent, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Anybody opposed? Mr. Dell, anyone else opposing? See none. Okay. Excuse me? Okay, a motion, vote on a neg deck. All in favor of neg deck?
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can you please do a roll call on that one?
Okay, on the neg deck?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm gonna go right down the line. A motion for neg deck. Mr. Mandel? Approve it. Mr. Dell? Down. Mr. Andrews?
Approve.
Yes. Mr. McCory?
Opposed?
Opposed. Mr. Young?
Approve.
Approved. Mr. Bond?
Approved.
And Mr. Warren approved. Okay, Jane? Okay, thank you. So I think Mr. Young made the motion for a preliminary with conditions, and I was gonna read them, okay? Again, the letter from Office Building Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, June 10th, which is the a narrative on the Japan Plaza site history. Office Building Zoning and Planning, June 8th, Jane Slavin. She has 13 items. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, April 21st. They have 23 items. Booker Engineering, June 10th, approved it with 12 items. Rockland County Planning, March 30th, 14 items.
Mr. Chairman, would you read number 9 into the
Yes,
record?
sir. Yes, sir, I will, certainly will. Number 9. The proposed plan shall conform with Route 303 overlay zone to the extent applicable, whatever. As proposed, no vegetative buffer areas are provided and the site is not adequately screened from Route 303. Greater than the permitted front yard parking is also proposed. A vegetative buffer of at least 25 feet must be provided along the property line adjacent to the Route 303 right-of-way. If low evergreen shrubs, trees, a minimum of 6 feet high are planted, this will also provide adequate screening of the site. Okay. Rockland County Highway, May 4th, 2 items. Rockland County Sewer District number 1, April 6, 2 items. And then we have a Rockland County Drainage, it's a narrative, April 24th. And that is it. Do I have a second? Mr. Mandel?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call? Yeah.
Aye.
please do roll call on it.
I'm gonna have a roll call. Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Mandel?
Mr. Chair-
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but we did say, nothing else, they were going to provide screening to the north side of Birch Street. And that wasn't in the thing you just wrote.
Christian, I think you had said that you were gonna do some work on Birch Street and that part of your project was you were gonna provide screening there. That was
I
part
was
of
saying
your,
that we were, for the subdivision approval, I was saying that we're, as part of the site plan approval, we are proposing improvements. So there was a concern that we wouldn't be coming in front of you for it, but under this application, we are in front of you for Birchtree also because of the improvements that we're doing. That's the comment I was making.
okay, so you're making improvements see, I'm a little confused. Are you making the improvements on the north side of the street or the south side of the street? Because
I just meant that the Birchtree Road lot is under your review under this application. We currently are not proposing landscaping other than what's existing there to remain along the north side. But as I stated before, we will absolutely look into it to see if we can provide any better screening to enhance the existing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Dell?
Well, we said that the board agreed that screening will be provided along the north side of Birch Street. Just put that in your decision.
That was in, I think, on the subdivision, so we'll
So we want to see a landscaping plan for that area proposed, basically, is what we want.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
that
well,
would be-
that's somewhere in the decision or finding of facts or somewhere.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, I forgot where the heck I was now.
Roll call.
Roll call, okay. Mr. Mandel?
We added in Mr. about the landscaping, Is that added as a condition?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, aye.
Okay, aye. Mr. Dell?
Still opposed, but at least
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Andrews?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Mr. McCory?
Opposed for preliminary.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Young?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bond?
Aye.
Thank you very much. So it's 5-2. Myself, I agree. Okay, so it's 5-2. Okay, you got your preliminary. Thank you. Okay,
Thank
Do
you
we-
all very much.
excuse me?
I said thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any other business?
We have any minutes?
No, we don't. No, no minutes yet. I'm almost finished.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Okay, anything else? I think we're all done.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Mr. Bond makes a motion to adjourn. Who do I second? Mr. Mandel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None.
Aye.
Gentlemen and ladies,